Good evening, one and all, and welcome to our fourth qualifier for this year's Super Metroid Randomizer tournament for Speedgaming Live 2023. My name is DJ Webb. I will be on commentary, and joining me is a real cutie. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm really excited for this race. I think this is going to be a pretty good one. This is a really fun randomizer mode, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we've got two pretty good players on the restream. I believe this will be Nevdi's second qualifier. Glove, I don't know if she did both of them yesterday, but I know she did the one earlier today and the early one
I believe
yesterday.
this is the second qualifier for both of them.
Oh,
Yep, and they both placed pretty well in the qualifier that they did. So this is going to be an interesting fight for seeding here for sure.
yep. After this one, we'll be halfway done with the qualifiers. Four more on next week. We are having a few technical issues with the layout and tracker currently, so if you can bear with us for a little bit, we should be able to get the layout fixed, and you'll be able to see the screens better and hear what the runners are doing. But if anyone hasn't caught any of these races today or yesterday, this is a single mode tournament for this year. We are doing just major, minor, full area, and boss shuffle. That's what every race will be for this tournament. And I'm gonna let Cutie, who won the earlier race today, tell you about it.
Yeah, so the areas are all randomized, and the areas being Crateria, Green Bryn Star, Red Bryn Star, East and West Meridia, Upper Norfair, Lower Norfair, Croc, Crate, and Turian are your dead ends, and Wreck Ship as well, and Root. And so they're going to connect at specific portals, and this creates an interesting map in interesting on-the-fly routing situations that you might find yourself in. This also slows down the mode quite a bit compared to vanilla map, and changes the EV on certain plays, because you have to start making decisions based on incomplete information, as opposed to in vanilla map, you have the whole map layout, so your decisions are on slightly more information, but they're a little bit less to think about, really. So they both got power bombs here, which is really important because it lets them check the portal here at the bottom of Crateria. This is a very isolated portal, so if finding power bombs early is always just really incredible to be able to get that portal out of the way.
Yeah, very much in a general sense, you are gonna mostly find seeds that take close to an hour. If you get the really, really fast ones, you can compete with some vanilla map times. But yeah, for the most part, looking close to an hour. If the seeds are, particularly slow, it can get even further, and it's not necessarily indicative of the skill of the players. It's more, the information you get and how the map is laid out.
Mm-hmm. There are certain
Would you?
maps that can just add time, like a Crade at one side of Lower Norfair. It just wastes an incredible amount of time just of map movement, and that's no fault of the players there. So Croc at the meme route
Goodness,
portal. This is the exact meme route portal from the earlier qualifier today, actually.
it's also probably one of the worst ones to get, especially like it's hard to have. I mean, you could have like two supers here and that would be better, but like it's hard to have like anywhere near good enough ammo to want to do that right now. And like you said with the dead end, like you're making a decision to come back here at some point and like you probably don't want to because it's far and Croc is, it's two majors, and if you're in a place where there's something there maybe, but
Yeah,
it's not a fun one to see.
I would say it's a great one to see until it's not, in the sense that, like, if it is required, it is terrible to find there. If it's not required, it is great to find there, because finding the dead ends is really important, especially before you start going into the areas that only have two portals in them. Because, for instance, like a Lower Norfair, having to go out, like, check the front of Lower Norfair if you come in through the back, and potentially finding Croc there without knowing is a very big time sink, but it's sometimes the biggest kind of variance that you'll see with map stuff in this mode are those few seeds where you'll get like a 50-50 like that, where it's like, oh, it could be Croc here or it could be Turian here. And those are really unfortunate. So Croc feels good to find, but if it's required, it feels pretty bad.
Yeah, and if you found either of the other two dead ends there, you would know you're coming back at some point.
Hmm. Yep.
But this one, it's just kind of like, like, hi, Croc. Do you wanna give me something good, or do you just want to, wave to the stream as we pass you by?
Hmm. Yep. So we're gonna see both Glove and Nevdi head to the ship here. They're probably not going right at the ship here. They're just refilling their power bombs so they can head left. Compared to Chozo here, heading right is not as good as heading left, just because if you head left, you have the major at Terminator, which is really big, especially with their health situation right now. Even an E-Tank at Terminator is huge. Early game E-Tanks are just incredibly important because there are a lot of areas that aren't locked by much that you want E-Tanks for, like Business Center, for instance. You want to be able to get the check it ice beam if you find it.
Yeah. An interesting start with, just two reserves, and other than that, we have like the morph ball that we had to have. We did find one of each ammo. That's always nice to see. Not expecting a ton of minor hunts this tournament due to differences in what's going on as far as the back end of the randomizer with the progression speed. So hopefully we won't have to deal with that too many times. And here, of course, we're good on, the basics needs of ammo. We're not going to be locked out of any doors, unless they're underwater, and we can go in and then come right back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Main Street here, that's a portal that is kind of nice to find, but I know some people like to check that crab hole, but it's a soft lock. So you have Main Street here, and then back of East Meridia as well. So this is just a dead end. I would actually expect someone to check crab hole here if they saved the ship. Because if crab hole leads to somewhere good, like a green Brinstar or a red tower, it's huge. And if it doesn't, you can just reset back to the ship, and you're only missing the E-Tank. Which, of course, the E-Tanks at the beginning are very important, but that portal information is just as, if not more important than the E-Tank of having that crab hole. That crab hole could save you a lot of time later, or it could just lead to somewhere where you can continue.
Yeah, and it does look like Nevdi agrees with your sentiments and is going to be doing that. We've got the layout changed now. All we need is for our racer streams to catch up, and we'll be all good for you.
Oh, perfect. We're going to be, I was hoping we wouldn't miss this portal here because that's also important. So, okay, so this is Business Center. That can be big. Business Center is kind of is spooky to find here, though, because it could be a very long soft lock.
Ooh, it's not gonna be that long at this rate.
Yeah, with the front of East Meridia here, the front of East Meridia here, it's really tempting to check these Business Center majors. I probably would do it myself in the moment, but looking as a third party, it's a little bit easier to think more clearly. And if there's something good here, there's still a very good chance you're going to have to reset it. Unless you can get a way out of crab hole. Unfortunately, so if you have an aligned door at crab hole, there is a gravity jump that you can do, but unfortunately, this one here, you don't have enough running speed to be able to do the gravity jump on the aligned door. So he is stuck here. So really, depending on what's at the high jump boots here is going to determine. This might be a pretty big reset back to the ship. It looks like Glove has done the same thing as Nebdi as well. They
Yeah, they
both
are
come
both
down
on.
here.
They're on 2+2, so I'm assuming. Actually, both of those reserves were before the ship save, so they're full. So yeah, I mean, they are. They're not going out of this side of Norfair, but they do definitely have the health
Mm-hmm.
ability to do, some hall
Yep.
runs and get to the other doors. And I want to say it's impossible for all. Well, it's
It's not
very, very
impossible.
unlikely.
It is
Yeah.
improbable for it to be a soft lock with this health. As I
I was
would
just
say.
thi- I was just thinking they could get to the other three doors, and like they would have to be like exactly like the back of wrecked ship, which even that I think you can go right to left with no items and like crate and Turian.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So
Or we
gravity
could
suit.
find gravity suit.
Okay. Yep. So that's a really big find down here. So it does not matter what the other portals are. They can get back up crab hole with just a simple gravity jump here. So there is actually something to be said about this. So falling down crab hole with no way back up is in logic. The logic can require you to fall down West Meridia and into crab hole with no way back up. So that could actually just be the logical way to play the seed. And having the ship save is really nice because it let them make that play without fear. Because if Crabhole just ended up being like Turian or something, they could just reset back to the ship, and they honestly don't really lose anything other than an E-tank, and they just gained some really valuable information that would be otherwise really far away for them to get that information later. So.
Yeah, Nevdi did a room reload, which kind of suggested to me he might have been thinking about hull running, but he is just going to go back up. I'm expecting going back up to West Meridia, not East. There's one obtainable major in East Meridia, so I really don't expect that to be the play. Although I do think, I was about to say, I think that's the door he went into. So proving me wrong.
Okay. So checking, I don't mind checking left sandpit here. It is possibly a little safe, but it is potentially very far away from the rest of the map.
You know what I just realized? It's not. We saw the back.
Yep, you can go out the back.
It's just it's just the other side of criteria.
Which is slow. Going out the back is pretty slow. It's not fast, but this check right here is not incredibly slow. It's possibly a little bit safe, but you're not getting back here until you're doing East Meridia, really, right? Like, and East Meridia has a chance to be pretty sequestered with how this seat is, because coming from the back without Dragon Dead is very slow, and then with the business center being locked kind of behind Main Street, business center is not actually super accessible at the moment without like a speed booster or a Varia suit to be able to come through like a croc escape. So I don't mind this check. It seems possibly a little safe. Maybe he's routing this back into criteria, which would be pretty smart, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, the interesting point for me is like, I mean, both this and West Meridia, the two options he had one accessible major, and then West Meridia has the added advantage of 2 unknown portals. This has a known portal.
Yep. And the biggest thing about this is its location makes it hard to get back to, so it's kind of a safe play, right? It's if something is here, it will be useful to get now because there's really not going to be a good time to come back and get it. And which is, he was also possibly looking for an E-tank to do Upper Norfair. 2+2 is logical, but with Upper Norfair, heated rooms, reserves more than one is not super beneficial because you'd rather have 4 E-tanks than 2+2. Just because if you find an E-tank at like Speed Booster, for instance, it will heal you to full, like completely, all 4 of your tanks. Whereas if you find one, it won't like fill your reserves back up. So.
About to drop some weak old knowledge on you with the new Varia update. They actually only count 1 reserve tank for hell runs ever.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
They would okay.
I mean, they would do them. I agree with you 100%, but technically no longer in logic 2+2.
Okay. Yeah, and Speed Booster is 4, I think, with Varia logic. In Chozo it's 3, but in this it's 4, I believe.
But yeah, the Cathedral Hell Run is 4 on its own. So I don't think any of them are more than 4, except there's the Cathedral Missile, which is kind of an old meme at this point. Well, for Major Minor at least.
Yeah, you're not gonna be finding your first power bomb pack there most likely anymore. So it's just an E-tank. He'll probably give this one attempt at the old power bomb boost here, and then check the minor and just go. I mean, ideally you do want this E-tank, but your power bombs are a limited resource, and you don't have the equipment to want to be farming the sizers, the crabs, to refill them at this point. So I agree with going for it once. Obviously, ideally you get that E-tank because it was going to make your life significantly easier later. So Glove Stream is back. Unfortunately, we don't know what she did to find the front of Wreck ship here.
literally like 1 second too late.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately. So we'll figure that out. My guess is it's one of these West Meridia portals. She didn't check Sandpit, left Sandpit, that would be my guess, and went through West Meridia and found it here.
There's maybe a 1% chance she did like the big brain play of like saving in business center, and if you get like X-ray there, you could have saved and like reloaded that save, and maybe that's faster. But who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. There
It
we go.
is in this area though. Pre-aqueduct. So we are finding, boss boss hideouts pretty quickly. We've already seen East Meridian now wreck ship.
And actually, now that you mention that, I think that's probably why I believe Nevdi saved in Business Center as well. That's probably why. But when he saw the super there, he decided to keep it. Nevdi's thinking.
Thinking about his power bomb count, that's my guess.
I think it's mainly, do you want to waste the time checking the boss? Wreck ship
Not
boss.
a waste of time this time.
Yeah, and it isn't. And unfortunately, it's just checking the wreck ship boss takes a long time. And if it's crate, it's like, for now, it's just one item. Possibly, depending on where the crate location is, the closet might be pretty accessible right now. But if it's crate, it's just like one item that you're missing. And if it's Fantoon, that's where it's like really big. But with the time sink and checking it, it's one of those that you can kind of defend it. It's one of those that it's kind of a runner preference thing, I would say.
Yeah. Well, with a little bit of a dance with our friend the Crade, but she is rewarded with a speed booster.
That's pretty big.
Huge.
Yes, that is pretty big right now. Yep, so this just came out at Lava Dive here. So now Nevdi is kind of teched into doing the heated rooms here. There's not really much else to do that's not going to waste a lot of time. Ideally, you wouldn't be doing heated rooms on this equipment with this health, but it feels pretty unavoidable at this point in the seed based on just what has happened for him, just because it's a big waste of time to not do them here. More so than it is a waste of time to do them here. So he's kind of just backed himself into the corner of having to do them, but through no fault of his own, really.
Yeah. Glove was very, very much keeping an eye on her resources. Spent a little time on that wall jump instead of using the power bomb. Didn't want to use the last one. I'm assuming she's going to be looking to go Forgotten Highway and looking at that portal. If you're not doing that, it's kind of a long trek back to Criteria, or you end up, where Nebdi is with those hull runs, and hasn't picked up an extra E-tank for her trouble, so it would be, the same situation. Well, no, speed actually makes that a lot different. Let me take that back.
Yep, speed does. Speed saves a lot in the speed booster hallway. So more supers for Nebdi here. So Glove is saving to check this back of wreck ship portal. The back of wreck ship, knowing Croc, any bad portals here are going to be like the two Lower Norfair portals or Turian, or not bad. Turian's not bad to find here necessarily, but it's one of those that it's bad if you didn't do the save scum here. So in case it's one of those three portals, I don't mind it. It does seem a little bit safe. The entirety of Red Brinstar is outstanding. The entirety of Green Brinstar is outstanding. There's a bunch of Upper Norfair portals. It's pretty unlikely that it's going to connect to Lower Norfair or Turian. But, there's something to be said about playing safe, right? You can lose a lot more time playing risky than you can lose from just playing safe. So.
Yeah. The other thing I'm interested in, I'm curious. Their ammo's the same, but they've definitely been in different places. So I'm wondering. I know the spooky item was a super missile. I'm just wondering if that's.
And then Bubble Mountain was a super. So that's the super difference right there. They each found one in the different locations that they went to. So this leads into Red Tower here. Yep.
And
So
that's
when you find this,
borderline vanilla.
yep. So when you find this, you definitely want to go check the crab shaft portal here, just because it's the only portal left in Crateria, and it's gonna be really hard to come back to unless you come out of it. And if it's a really good portal, you've just lost a lot of time by not checking it. It can be unfortunate sometimes though, because this stuff in it, that's Turian, that's really good information, but it's probably information that most runners are going to get when they come out of Moat. They're just going to go into Turian, or and find Turian information, because that's just the way to kind of play it. So
Yeah.
she's possibly just refilling for ammo right here. She could be making the East Meridia play, but I wouldn't think so. It's probably just for ammo. Yep, it's just for ammo here.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Nevdi is doing a pretty good job over here in Upper Norfolk. Speed was an E-tank, which was very nice. Doesn't have the current resources to be able to Crystal Flash, so these are all just, it's going to be go to the place and then go refill your health the old-fashioned way. Unfortunately for him, especially because, Speed Booster, probably one of the biggest items, swing-wise for time as far as, Glove had it and, is going to have it for, 80-90% of this race. Nevdi, it's going to be pretty long in theory before he gets back there, just because, probably not going to go back the way you came, and probably there's a Norfair to Red Tower portal just because of, how the outstanding portals are in Red Tower, but luckily Gravity Suit makes the backside of Wreck Ship, not terrible.
Yeah. Depending on where I'm at in the seat, I personally will group Red Tower portals because it's likely to find Red Tower again, right? So, like, for instance, if the elevator portal at the top of Red Tower there went somewhere that I wanted to go, like Upper Norfair, there, maybe not on this health, I'd have been hesitant, but if it, like, went into single chamber, for instance, I'd have been very tempted to follow it, because there's still so many Red Brinstar portals outstanding that it's very likely to find your way back there reasonably quickly.
And Nebby's found the final Upper Norfolk major. It is Plasma Beam, which, varying degrees of, goodness, especially, whether or not we find charge. But on the total, you got the health up, but the biggest thing you needed your health up was for these hell runs. The other thing is, depending on Lower Norfair and the viability of, Novaria there. So kind of unfortunate because both of them we know that Speed Booster is available.
Yeah, if there's any E-tanks you wanted to find, it was that Wave Beam in this, because you don't have a Crystal Flash, so there's a very good chance Nevdi is probably just going to end up isolating the single chamber portal. With 200 in reserves, maybe he can probably get there, which is why he's saving. But if he didn't have 200 in his reserves, then this would be a portal that he'd have to isolate just because of the low health that he did. Obviously, he wouldn't have to, but the time loss would be a lot larger. Okay, so he didn't pause to manually activate the reserves there. If your reserves activate automatically, you still will take heat damage while they're ticking up. So you lose some effective health there.
Ooh, he's gonna see the portal.
And it's green Brinstar.
That sucks.
And it's green Brinstar. So he's going back and he's going to manually activate his reserves this time. It is slower to manually activate them, but you do lose out on effective health. So he probably thought he was fine letting them go automatically.
He was 1 energy away, so that was definitely a reasonable expectation. I know Glove did X-ray. I unfortunately didn't see if she checked the middle Red Tower portal. I assume she did, because it would be weird not to, but I didn't see it if you did.
I did not either. It looks like, oh yeah, she did. I did see it. It was front of Lower Norfair.
Thank you.
Yep. It's front of Lower Norfair. So Nevdi's checking the other portal here. I don't mind this. In this situation, if I find Green Bryn, I really want to follow it. Finding Green Bryn late is a little less useful, but it is the most dense majors here. And then there's the other Green Bryn portal from Glove.
Yeah, I think this may go back to what you said earlier about like grouping portals. So right now, Nebdi has just this Norfair portal that's outstanding.
Oh, there's the other green print portal.
Of
Oh no,
course, it's always how it goes.
they're all right there. That's so funny. Yeah, grouping portals can be good, but isolating portals is also bad. So sometimes if you're trying to decide between like two areas to check and clear, you might want to just clear the ones that are further apart, because if you find later some portals in, say, like the bottom of Red Tower, then the other bottom of Red Tower portals are just free, right? But say like you're trying to decide between West Meridia, if you find like top of West Meridia, the rest of the West Meridia portals aren't free then, right?
Yeah.
But whereas in this instance, if you find it from this way, these portals are all just pretty free to check.
Yeah, and Nebdi did get rewarded as he ended up in Red Tower, and as Glove showed us, is just gonna find the two other green bright stars over here after he does the spacer check for wave.
Yep, I'm curious if he checks X-ray here. I don't know. I am in the middle part of the seed. I'm not a big fan of doing X-ray if I already have the gravity suit, mainly because when I see I have gravity suit, I assume I'm pretty close to go mode with a suitless Lower Norfair, Varioless Lower Norfair. It's Ridley being vanilla can be tricky, or being forced to acid dive is a situation where Varia being there can really screw you. But the X-ray check can be pretty slow, especially if you have to pause to remove stuff. Okay, so that's huge. Varia at Waterway is really big.
Yeah. So speaking of your acid dive, Kraid's at the back end of Lower Norfair, so that is gonna happen this seed.
That is required. Yeah. So this is really bad for Nevdi. This is the kind of seed as a both of these runners are obviously top players, but like as one of the better players in a qualifier, this is the kind of seed that you don't want to see, because the checking Fantoon, the Fantoon boss, is in a lot of cases very high risk for sometimes no reward, unfortunately. So like there's a very big chance that a lot of people did it, but there's also an equally big chance a lot of people didn't do it.
There's charge as and yeah, I think with 3 out of 4, I really do think, based on the like pause that Nebdi did, it really was like an ammo kind of thing. He was worried about, only 2 power bombs. You have to use 1 to get in. It would be the only you have to use 1 to get in, and you have to use 1 to get out. So as long as you don't check Spooky first, you're fine. Which is, I believe, Glove did it in a similar way. And yeah, as far as like and your potential for disaster was unknown at the time, but when you look back on it, you're gonna say, wow, I lost like 20 minutes maybe for not doing something that may be a 2-minute waste of time.
Yeah, and in these slower seeds, you sometimes can get away with wasting a few minutes. Which is why in a qualifier, I'm probably more likely to check Fantoon compared to if I'm like doing a 1v1 race against like Zeb or something, or in a lobby with some of my friends doing these. But in a qualifier, I'm probably more likely to do something like that, because the downside is just really big, and the time loss is something that you can make up on a lot of the field if you feel like you're one of the stronger players in the qualifier.
Yeah, and harkening back to a few things you talked about, we have still not seen another powerbomb pack. So Nebdi's both like routing this in a non-standard way because of his powerbomb count, and also going into extra rooms to farm and such. Like those extra resources. Very there are people who don't quite see the full scope of like you check a miner that's like maybe not the most in your way thing, and like it gives you what it gives you, like almost no matter what that is, especially the earlier it is, like it'll be there for you later on when you need it. And Those are things that can add up over time. Those, the little decisions, the big decisions, and everything in between. So, like, you don't want to run around a seed with 5 power bombs. Obviously, they both got bombs now. That was the Brinstar reserve. So that mitigates a lot of it. It does not mitigate your ability to Crystal Flash, however. That's not one of the things. So, like, I spoke of power bombs that won't appear. That's very good for Nevdi, but as it currently stands, and especially with the double trip traversal through Lower Norfair, very likely Nevdi has to come back at some point and get that various suit. And Wreck Ship's kind of far away from him right now.
The big thing is Nevdi is also running out of stuff in logic, which is probably what will lead him back to the Wreck Ship boss. My guess is at some point he will realize that the Wreck Ship boss has to have some sort of item. Logically, just because there's no way through Batsun hallway for him right now.
Yeah, it's definitely that or Gauntlet B for him as far as outstanding checks right now. I want to say, given his health, that X-Ray will actually be in logic for him with those bombs. But he's gonna. That's the next major he's gonna check, and it's gonna be an E-Tank. So yeah, at that point, it's gonna be like, well, either there's something in criteria that's available for me. That's not the case. We've seen that on Glove's side, or yeah, it was in Wreck Ship. Whether it's the boss unlocking some things or that other portal, which he's also about to find from the back end, I'm assuming.
And the thing is Nevdi's probably thinking at the moment that it is Phantoon in the ship. Well, he will be eventually, right, when he runs out of in-logic stuff.
Yeah.
The big thing is you sometimes don't think about the logic too hard in these. But because it's like, oh, there's so many items you can skip. I think Zeb has said this mode the best. As opposed to other modes where you're looking for specific items, generally this mode you're just looking for some subset of items that let you beat the game. In Chozo modes, the mode's so fast, you're looking for both suits. You're looking for your Batsun hallway access, you're looking for your Zeb skip. In this, you're just looking for some combination that'll let you beat the game. Whether that means skipping a suit, I mean, there have been seeds where the right play, you don't get either suit, right? In this seed, unfortunately for Nevdi here, the various suit is not hard required, but it almost is for all intents and purposes. Reverse acid dive without Varia is really, you need a lot more resources than he has, because acid counts as environmental damage. So you'd be taking power suit acid damage on top of the heat damage. So you need a good, 10 or so E-Tanks, 9, 10 E-Tanks at least, and you need to Crystal Flash before you do the dive, and then Crystal Flash immediately after the dive. So it's just a very unrealistic situation to ask of someone to do in a fast manner in most seeds. So he's probably going to find his way into Wreck Ship here pretty quickly. He's thinking it's either going to be something at Wreck Ship or the Gauntlet. Sorry, I just had my brain wasn't working for a second.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Glove, the person who's all borderline got right of the seed is trying a very difficult wall jump here in Lower Norfair. She has other options. For a single attempt, if you are capable, ignoring sunk costs, it is always faster to try to the hypo jump, which she did get after, I want to say, maybe 30, 45 seconds. But did have the opportunity to bomb jump if she, felt like it.
So there's the back of Wreck Ship for Nevdi, and he's checking the other portal now. So has he checked the elevator?
No.
He's not. Okay, he's just farming some supers. Okay. So that's actually kind of nice for him. But as I was saying earlier, sorry, I kind of got sidetracked talking about the seed. But this is one of those seeds where you can't just look for some combination. You're kind of going to need Varia. So it's a seed where you're going to pay attention to the logic just a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think this will be the last door that he will need for the knowledge that Kraid is behind Lower Norfair.
Yeah, but missing Turian as well at this point, he knows that he's going to have to reverse acid dive either way, because it's either Turian or Kraid. He actually also does have Croc outstanding. I completely forgot about that.
No.
But I
Croc was the
think,
first thing they saw.
yep, I meant in terms of items. Sorry.
Oh yeah, we both forgot
Yes.
about that. Good spot.
But I think you would check the wreck ship boss before you check Croc, just mainly because I think it's kind of a meta game, meta play, right? That's what, at least from my perspective, that's what people are more likely to have done. So it just seems like that's the best way to cut your losses. But you could, because it's a qualifier, if it's a 1v1 though, you probably are more likely to commit to just skipping that boss and going to Crocomire. And if it is that boss, you've probably already lost in a 1v1. So you just say, nope, I'm not going to the wreck ship boss, I'm going to go check Crocomire. But in something more of a qualifier, I think you're more likely to want to just go to the wreck ship boss, especially with the fact that Nevdi can beat any boss that's there now. He's got the health and supers to deal with Ridley, and so it's just going to be value for him no matter what.
Yep, he also they give him his last miner needed for Crystal Flash. I'm not sure how relevant that's going to be. We're gonna have to see. I mean, there was, I was paying attention to Glove mostly. I like this decision to go here first instead of the Ridley boss.
Yep.
Mostly because of the mini crate, honestly. Like, you are very likely to run into Ridley. 2 out of the 3 bosses left are around here, so she's only got Charge Wave. Very unlikely to find the Plasma Beam at Norfair Reserve.
Yep.
So,
if you're gonna reverse acid dive though, without Various Suit, the dead end you want on the other side of Lower Norfair is Kraid. Especially with Kraid already dead, Kraid is the Crystal Flash care package. You can fill your missiles, you can fill your supers, and you can fill your power bombs without filling your health, which is really good if you want a Crystal Flash.
And there's even a literal health refill.
If you need the health, there's
also
also a health refill, exactly. So it's a really good thing to find, but also just in general, since you don't know where Ridley is yet, it is pretty important to just want to keep your super count high. Ammo management is very important in these. There's plenty of examples of races where just managing your current ammo can make up minutes.
I think that might have been like 1 or 2 short for Glove. Unfortunately, we got an angry ghost on the screen.
Yep. Now, what Glove is probably thinking right now, while she's playing as well, and this is what makes this mode kind of hard, is you kind of start trying to think about how you want to route the end of the game, how you want to route East Meridia into Turian. And so where Lower Norfair comes out, the bigger lines are a bit harder to read. They do highlight like the important places, but sometimes in trying to route your late game, the tertiary places that lead you a path between the important ones are also pretty important to see here.
So you gotta go. You're coming out the middle of Red Tower. From there to get into East Meridia, you either want to go to the left side of Crateria or to the very left portal in Upper Norfair.
Yeah,
and then from there you definitely want to go on the back.
You're praying that Dragon is at Ridley. This is a situation where you have to think of 2 different paths, possibly. It's really hard in the moment to know it's faster, but if Dragon is not here at Ridley, then there's something to be said about possibly routing East Meridia front to back and instead going through Norfair. But I think no matter what, you're probably just ending up doing East Meridia back to back. I think probably the best way to come through this is you come out middle of Red Tower, then you go up Red Tower, back into Crateria, and you just run across Crateria and do East Meridia back to back.
Yeah. If you want really badly to go to the front, you would go down Red Tower.
And through Croc Escape.
Through Croc Escape, and then you're not too far from the front of Norfair, especially with speed.
Yeah. If Dragon's not here, front to back is a little bit more interesting. But if Dragon is here, I think back to back is probably just the play, because you can also like skip Botswoon and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too, is it's really hard to like discern what's faster. The other big thing though that discourages front to back is that it is an extra elevator ride, because you have to ride up the business center elevator, and elevators are, they're 11 seconds. It's not an amount of time that you just can ignore.
Oh, and yeah. I was very much wondering where Nebby was going, and then, he finally hit the door, and I was like, oh yeah, you have speed. You can do East Meridia if you so desire, which makes a lot more sense than tracking back to Green Brinstar for the one item you left.
Exactly. And with bombs, it's he could have Crystal Flash clipped, but there's very little incentive to do that, because you're looking for Varia at this point. Like, it is a pretty dang close to hard required in this seed. So you're trying to find an item that will unlock more items, or just straight up find Varia. So I think East Meridia, from Nevdi's perspective here, makes quite a bit of sense, because that, like, what does Speed Booster unlock? East Meridia and Waterway.
And Wreck Ship Reserve if you happen to get Fantoon here, which was a possibility. Obviously, Glove found that in Kraid's lair.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, the non-vanilla Dragon popped, which was good for Glove's position.
Having Plasma is going to be nice for Nevi, because at this health, he probably doesn't need to be full-on supers entering Ridley here, but I think farming is still smart, because fighting with supers is still significantly more comfortable. Charge Shot Ridley without high jump is actually kind of annoying to do fast with your health ticking, just because, like, yes, you can do it pretty quickly, but it is slower than with high jump, so it can be pretty annoying with your health ticking to be doing Ridley with charge shots. And so, like, this is the other thing where information can kind of be big, or just like straight up Varia is big, because if he had Varia, he's probably not farming supers here in case it's Ridley, but because it can be Ridley, he's farming supers here, and he's probably going to save. Oh, doesn't look like he is. I mean, he's what, 5+3, 6+3 here? That's a pretty safe Ridley.
So yeah, Glove got the coveted non-East Meridia spike suit, so we'll see how long it takes before she blows it. If she didn't already, I was paying a little bit more attention to Nevdi as he was preparing for this fight that we knew was going to be Ridley. She used it to get out of the room. Yep. Unfortunately, outside of East Meridia, that spike suit is very, very seldom useful. Coliseum, it's very good. Other places, you're just kind of, either running around slowly or trying to save it, or you just blow it somewhere random, and it looks funny, and everyone has a laugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 300 there. Yeah, he was plenty safe. It was starting to look a little bit spicy, but he's plenty safe with 300 in reserves. And just an E-tank. I don't mind checking this. Your health's pretty bad, so you just kind of want to heal. And the power bombs this seed are unfortunately incredibly sparse. And the one thing about a Variolus LN seed is, ironically, you kind of don't want to find a charge early in that, because you just want enough ammo, a lot of ammo for like crystal flashes and stuff, and it wastes a lot of time to have to pick it up if you already have charge beam. So at some point, Nevdi is probably finding Varia. The power bombs are just too sparse to even consider the reverse acid dive.
And he's in a point where his only options are Screw Attack, which is, the closest current item to him. His other options are Waterway and Shack Tool if, or wait, no, what am I saying? Glove killed Dragon, not Nevdi. Plasma's closed. So yeah, it's literally Gauntlet has something that unlocks Shack Tool, or it's at Waterway. Those are his only current options.
Or Croc.
Oh yeah, Croc. I keep forgetting about Croc.
Yeah, it's really easy to forget about Croc, yeah. And that's probably in his mind right now, just because of where it was found. But the thing is if it's at Croc, he probably doesn't feel terrible, right? He probably doesn't feel terrible about it being at Croc right now, because it's very likely that most players are not going to go back to Croc until it's the last thing left. because it is just such a large detour. Because Croc itself is already with charged plasma, it's probably closer to 2.5, 245, but it's like a 3+ minute area to check at least. On top of it being at quite arguably the most isolated portal. So what Nevity's trying to do is, if you only run for a handful of frames with Speed Booster and no high jump, you get a a much higher jump. And you can use that to get a wall jump there like you just did. You unfortunately missed the morph, but it's like 1 or 2 frames that you have to run for before you press jump. So it's not trivial at all to get that really high jump with the Speed Booster and no high jump.
Always appreciate people dropping some knowledge on us. I didn't quite know about those, the handful of frames. So yeah, Nebby's thinking. I'm curious which direction he decides to lean in. He knows Very is not at Gauntlet, so that's probably the most unattractive place. But if you think it might be the most trolly thing, that could be Icer Grapple, which unlock the Shack Tool play, and then the other options are a Croc, which is close to you because you just came out of
I think he's
Criteria.
probably doing Croc.
Yeah. And Green Red Star was definitely further away. He is saving here though. I
actually like this save because unless it's Varia, you want it. It's just a much, instead of like having to go back up the retro elevator, having to go back, like it has to be a very specific set of items to not reset it, and so it's very likely he just has to end up resetting it.
Yeah. The thing from our vantage point, the thing that's gonna test him is like high jump and ice being down here. That would be like max punish as far as what what's gonna do, because we know he needs to find his way to Waterway. Unfortunate, like we said, the way he did this involved a very late Speed Booster post the Green Red Star clear.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily think it's a mistake to not check that boss there, because the reward in general, this is just about the biggest reward situation that boss could hold, right? Because if it's Fantoon, you might get teched into full clearing a wreck ship that you don't need to full clear if you do it right away, right? Which just wastes a lot of time. So the fact that it's Kraid, so you don't end up clearing a bunch of wreck ship, and then the Kraid has the Speed Booster that unlocks Waterway for the Various suit in a reverse acid dive seat. It's just about the biggest reward possible for checking that boss in the seat, I think.
And here's a very big find for Glove. Someone in chat mentioned it. I want to say it was Mikey Stone, if I'm saying your name correctly. If not, let me know. But second Powerbomb pack in a seed where we don't necessarily plan on, count on finding Ice Beam. 10 is a lot better than 5.
Yep. In area, 5 isn't as bad as vanilla just because of the refill. But you can just go back up the Terran elevator and come back down and it will refill. But 10 is still infinitely better. In area seed, if you don't get the drop in the first room, you just go back, go up the elevator, come back down. And it loses some time, but it doesn't lose that much time. For instance, I would not, if I had to go into a different room to check a miner, I wouldn't check it for power bombs, for a 15th power bomb in an area seed. In a vanilla map seed, I certainly would. But in an area seed, if it requires an extra room, it is definitely not a worthwhile check for power bombs, I think, if you have 10.
Yeah.
So this is why the reset's so good. He saves an insane amount of time coming back up here.
Yeah, quite a bit of map traversal. As a Glove, interestingly, had the non-vanilla Dre and still elected front to back. I want to say that the minor checks and also the major checks she got along the way were potential booms for that play. Obviously, we're still skipping Batu in here. And I'm also very curious, maybe hearkening to her league teammate, but picked up that X-ray in a position where it was out of the way and not useful.
It's beef robber go mode. She's gonna go to beef finds it. He's gonna go to landing site. and just finish the seed right there, right? Of course, out of bounds glitches like that are banned in this, but it is technically the most powerful item in the game, if you want to get on a technical sense.
It seems like most old games have that one item where it's like, if you don't, restrict things, it's like there's an item that breaks like literally everything in the game that you could ever imagine.
Yep.
For Super Metroid, it's X-ray.
Yep.
And the start button randomly.
Yes. Yep. I think Glove probably just skipped Batsun because she knew Ridley was coming up here and just didn't want to deal with using the ammo. I think because it is faster to do Batsun and come through here. But in this situation, I think she probably just didn't want to deal with potential ammo issues.
Yeah, and Precious was a 15th power bomb, so now she
Yep.
really has no Turian issues.
And I think Precious is a good check for a power bomb because you don't have to go through a door because a door transitions about 3 seconds. So like entering a room and then having to like traverse back out is a solid 6+ seconds already. Like that's already a fanfare, almost, just to check a different room. So I think it makes complete sense to go check Precious there for another power bomb pack. So here Nevdi's getting to Waterway, and when he finds Varia here, he's gonna feel really bad because I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think checking Fantoon there was right, but I also don't think it was wrong. That's kind of just how rando can go sometimes. There's good defenses for checking it, and there's good defenses for not checking it. It's just that unfortunate in Nevdi's case that he basically got as hard punished as possible for not electing to check the wreck ship boss. It's possible he was seeing some demons from the first qualifier where he checked the wreck ship boss and lost a lot of time.
Yeah. So Gloves coming up on the end of this. We will be seeing run through here. We'll be in criteria and we'll go over to Turian. Her current health looks dicey, but at least 2 reserves, I'm gonna say, so it's really not dicey. And yeah, I think I was over exaggerating when I said, doing what Nebdi did might have cost 20 minutes, but it's definitely over 10.
Yeah, it's really rare that something like that can happen. And we were playing a seed the other day where it was the opposite. If you checked the Kraid boss, it was Fantoon and baited you into full clearing a wrecked ship that had nothing. And you'd lose like 5 minutes for checking the boss ahead of time. That's the kind of stuff that can happen. It's not, it's not common. Most seeds don't have this kind of stuff, but every so often you'll just run into one that is really bad.
He's saving frames on the elevator though, so he's still, his mind's in the game. He's just his mind might also be other places.
Yep, he's not checked out. I am also really sorry I didn't pay attention to how, now that I think about it, how Glove routed through to front of East Meridia, because I do wonder. I think with Dragon dead, I think back to back is better, but like it's one of those things that I might not be reading the map correctly, and it's also really hard to gauge in real time. That's one of the things that can separate some really good runners from some of the more mid-tier runners is at Randomizer, is just being able to read a map quickly and in real time kind of just assess a path that you think is the fastest and be able to make a decision on it. And it's better to make a decision that's 10 seconds slower than to take 10 seconds to think about it, in my opinion.
Most often the case, yeah. And if you just pick a direction and you're good with it, you're gonna be fine. If you are second guessing yourself or running back and forth and doing a little dance with Samus, it's gonna cost you some time.
Yeah. Then sometimes you run into a situation though, like where you're just like, what do I have left to check? And because it can be really hard because you're trying to think ahead, right? Oftentimes when you're playing, especially these kind of seeds, less so in vanilla map because you don't have to try and piece together a map in your head. But oftentimes when you're checking a portal or checking an item, you're thinking about, okay, if this item is this, like, what's my play, right? And when you have couple items it can be, sometimes you're having to like think about a couple of different decision trees at the same time. And while playing, it's very difficult. It's a lot easier to do while watching, for sure. But while playing, it is very difficult, and that's a really big skill. Sometimes runners will just pick up a missile pack that they probably don't need, just because it gives them time to think. And it's like, I get maybe some benefit out of these missiles, so I'll pick them up. My thinking missiles.
So yeah, Nebdy's doing, one of two lower Norfair bosses here. We'll see. Yeah, he's not interested in taking any more time for any major checks, especially with Charge Wave Plasma. Like, the only thing that's going to do anything for you is ice and potentially high jump, just because you are retraversing lower Norfair. But like, odds are low, and you've played this in a way where Speed Booster eluded you and cost you big. So
yeah,
every second does count in a qualifier because of how the scoring system works.
Mm-hmm. And the real big thing about that speed boost, about that Varia too, is it's a seed where you just kind of can't skip it, realistically. It wouldn't, like, the Varia there was definitely bad, but it wouldn't have been so bad if like Kraid's in a different spot, right? If Turian doesn't dead end at one side that you need to go to, because then, like, the screw attack, all the stuff he had, doing a Varialist lower Norfair on this equipment, knowing Ridley's not there, back to back, even front to back would have been perfectly fine for him. Front to back maybe a little bit harder, actually, because he doesn't have a way through worst room in the game. But back to back would have been perfectly fine. It's just the map kind of added insult to injury.
If you switch Kraid and Turian here, you have a shot at it just because of, the front to back nature makes the acid dive not a problem if you do it last. But yeah, you really want to worst room item. Was it bombs?
Yeah, because relying on having to hypo jump while taking heated damage is spooky.
Nebdy proves me wrong again. Checks the item later.
That one's such a tempting item to check because it's so fast, and if you need power bombs, it refills your. Like, Kraid Cloth is so tempting to check. It's really hard to skip it. It's right to skip it, but I always am just like, yeah, but if it's high jump, that's so big.
Very, very close on first try speeds up skip. Glove does not need this, very much wants it. Charge Wave is not the worst beam, it's also not the best beam. So
yeah,
the more supers you have for MB2, the better.
I think Charge Wave is an incredible beam until you have every boss dead. And then it becomes a really bad beam on Mother Brain. It's really slow. It's 1.5 missiles per charge shot. So like, if you fire perfect missiles, you can fire 6 per second. If you fire perfect wave beam shots, you can fire 1 per second. So it's like 600 damage per second versus 150 damage per second. So it's, it's not a good beam against Mother Brain at all.
Runner has some words about her own play in chat right now. But yeah, right now we're gonna see, ammo on the Mother Brain. I'm not sure if she'll elect to save the supers for the end or just empty them out now. There was some talk a few months ago during League about, saving the supers can allow you to skip a Mother Brain last phase catch up, I want to say, or maybe not necessarily catch up, just an attack in general.
Yeah, so this is kind of getting into the nitty gritty, which is my specialty. So the way Mother Brain the way Mother Brain goes into the Rainbow Beam cutscene is she has an attack cycle, and the Red Beam or Ketchup basically resets or starts over that cycle again, and the cycle has to end before she goes into the Rainbow Beam. So if you time your supers really well, you can get only one catch-up, which is really good. Because getting the second one can be really bad, because if she catch-ups as like the charge shot or projectile that is in the air to like kill her, then that catch-up itself loses about 4 seconds, because then she just sits there for 4 seconds before going into Rainbow Beam instead of just going immediately into it. This can be even worse if she lays a really poorly timed bomb, because she can't catch up when a bomb is out. So if she lays a bomb right at the end, you actually want to use morph ball bombs to blow up the bomb manually before she can queue up a catch up, because if she lays a bomb at the end and you don't kill the bomb, she can queue up a catch up and you can lose like 7 seconds just right at the end because of really bad luck. So long story short, it's good to save them because it just lowers the variance of the catch-up if you can reliably get only one.
I like when you go into the nitty-gritty.
You and me both. It's my specialty. I love that stuff. It's really cool.
So yeah, I'm going to boldly check to see if our friendly speed game bot works. It does. So yeah, as this is winding down, give our runners a follow. They both put on a good show. Glove obviously routed this one in a way that, especially compared to Nevby, worked out a lot better. I haven't spoiled myself on the results, so I don't know either her finish time or her standing overall in the qualifier. I also didn't check, but I think there were maybe like 17, 18 people in this qualifier. So if that's true, it would be, I think, the biggest of the 4 so far. So you definitely want to get, up at the top of those times. And given what we saw, I think she's probably comfortably, I would say, within the par. I'm not going to, necessarily say a place. There were, several good runners in this qualifier.
Yeah, definitely. I've not spoiled myself on the results either here.
So yeah, we will see. Actually, we're not going to see. Nevdy already did East Meridia, so he just has to go to Turian.
Yep.
He's not going to have to make a little detour like Love did. So see where he paths. It should just be up. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's actually really fast. You just go up right tower and you're right at the moat.
Yeah, it's not bad to do this last. That's the other thing sometimes is like doing like saving. Another big area component is sometimes you can save areas for later because they're close to Turian, and it can make your end game routing a lot smoother by saving areas close to Turian. Obviously, if the item that you might need is there, it can be a little tricky, but like, for instance, sometimes it's like, I can technically do this here, but like I don't have really good equipment for it, and it's really close to Turian, so I'm just going to save it, is something that can happen in a lot of seeds.
Yep. Those are the things where, like you've said multiple times, I think, not necessarily harking on it, if something's really important, saying it a lot is good. Like, more information you have, the earlier you have it, the more informed any and all of your decisions will be on that front. And Nevdy will be able to, set his feet in Turian before his competitor on the restream finishes, which, feels good in a 1v1 race, obviously, if that's what this was. It's a decent chunk to lose by, but making it to Turian, probably you feel better than not. But yeah, Glove is going to finish this one. Final race time, 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 3 seconds. Glove lost first place by 5 seconds to Nitro. So that was a wire-to-wire finish. That would have been crazy if we had them on the restream.
Yep.
So yeah, Glove takes second, and yeah, very, very, very nicely done. Considering the comments that she had in chat about her in-game route, I think I very much understand them with the context of, losing out on first by 5 seconds. In the grand scheme of things, those 5 seconds probably mean almost nothing points-wise, but, if you were that close to first, you want to win. No doubt about it.
Yeah, my guess is she probably regrets doing East Meridia front to back, because I think back to back is probably better there, especially. Nope.
Yeah.
And we are now joined by Glove.
Yeah.
Congrats
Good
on the
games.
second place.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
Yep. And that end game running, were you talking about East Meridia front to back?
I think I should have done East Meridia before Lower Norfair stuff.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
also.
think I don't like even if I knew that I could get Dragon out of the way first, I don't think that route's better.
Hmm. Yeah, when you were, I wasn't necessarily thinking about that. I was thinking when you were in Lower Norfair at the time. East
I
Meridia
also
back to
just should
back is
have
probably
done
better.
back to back for sure.
Hmm.
And just run
Yeah.
across criteria. That would have been like it's one of those things where it was like I just need to like this is the first route I see. I don't have the time to think about it.
Yeah, that's what's really hard about these. Is like when you kind of everything kind of falls into place too quickly to really think about how you want to do stuff. It can be really hard to find the right way to do stuff, and it's a skill that's really hard to have, to see stuff quickly, because it's not entirely difficult to see stuff when you have the time to think about it, but when everything falls into place super quickly, it's like, oh geez, what do I do?
Yeah, I also think, and I think you were talking about this, like some runners will pick up a missile pack to give themselves time to think. I
Mm-hmm.
think I was partially doing that, but I also just think I checked too much stuff. I was in a rough situation where for forever I had neither ice nor a second power bomb pack,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really rough. But I still think you almost just have to believe on the power bomb pack rather than like checking all these majors that I did. I it is
Yeah,
what it is.
it is. Yeah. Uh, with only 5, I wouldn't mind like going a little bit out of the way for like minors, but with 10, and I was talking about this, and it's exactly what you did, because your 15th was with 10 in area. I was saying that you probably don't want to check a minor if you have to do a door transition.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
think
like I
Precious is pretty good to check there, just because like the 15th power bomb is so big.
Mhm.
But and I completely agree with checking that, and it was really nice to see it rewarded.
Yeah, I think going down a sand pit was the correct decision before I got the second power bomb pack. I don't think it was correct afterward.
Yeah.
It's like not that bad, but like
Mhm.
it's definitely a losing play, I think.
Yeah, it was certainly, I was a little confused, but I was also expecting East Meridia back to back. I thought it
Sure,
was
sure, yeah.
possibly an ammo thing. But I was also not entirely. I was trying to convince myself it was that, because like with Charge Wave, I think you had 38 supers or something. Like Batu's not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't care. Like I'm glad I had people who know what they're talking about on comms, because otherwise I would be worried people would be like, "Oh, I don't like all these ammo checks just for like supers or whatever." It's like, no, I just need the power bomb, and
Yeah,
nothing had a power bomb.
exactly. Yep. Nevdi, how are you
What's
doing?
up?
What's up, Nivdi?
Good. What's up?
Oh.
GG. Fun one. Loved it.
I was. This is.
I can see how this seed would put you in. Like, I don't know what route you had, but I can see how this seed would put you in total shambles. Like, if you end up finding Green Bryn before fighting Kraid.
So the big thing is I think it's really defensible to do what Nevdi did when you find the front of Rex ship and not check the boss.
Yeah, I agree.
And because it's like I was talking about, I think this is probably almost as rewarded as you can get for checking that boss.
100% agree. So my thought process there, because I'm not in every situation checking Rex ship, but
Mm-hmm.
that portal in West Meridia, I hate leaving that behind.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I have slightly worse than 3 and 4 chance that I can do it, then I'm going to check the boss there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like a lot of factors, so it's always really hard to like get a super accurate like representation of like whether it's a good or bad play. In a lot of situations, it's kind of like you can defend both.
Yeah.
So
Speaking
it's
of, you
kind of one of
can
those.
kind of defend both. I do wonder if anyone did croc at the very beginning.
And he
I
did.
You have
So
to be.
the earlier qualifier today had Croc in the same spot, and we had 10 power bombs. So Eddie went to Billy Mays and then did
Oh
Croc.
my god. If I
Shout out
if
to
I
Eddie in the chat.
Ready?
yeah, I'll ask the same. If I had a missile into super there, I think I would have done croc, but 10 missile croc is just stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're like very, very practiced at like I don't know, like if you've been running Super Metroid Impossible like old route before the Moonfall like thing, like maybe you're like good enough at that it doesn't waste a year. But
Yeah. I'm not confident in my Crocomire. So I
Mhm.
would probably, if I see Croc there, like the big thing about seeing Croc there is I was talking about it at the beginning, is you actually like seeing Croc there until you don't. And what I mean by that
Yeah,
is it's really nice to have a dead end out of the way. But if it's required,
absolutely.
it's terrible.
Hmm.
But if it's not required, or the seed doesn't troll, like give you a situation where it's an acceptable decision to go and check it, it's great to see that there because your dead end's gone. Like one of your dead ends are gone, and those are super big swings in these. But
Yeah. I mean, I also think it's a fine enough play to like. I'm not huge on meta, but I think it is enough to be like, people aren't going to do this croc, so it's fine if I don't do this croc.
yeah, I think you can do that a little bit. I think in qualifiers a little bit less, just
Yeah,
because
yeah, for sure.
I think you have to play more. I think qualifiers lend itself to playing more efficient
Mhm.
than like trying to like metagame that kind of stuff. But I was talking about it earlier, and I don't know if this was on Nevdy's mind, but getting back to wreck ship, since you could do any boss that was there, I liked doing that before like checking other stuff like Croc or anything like that, because it's like
Yeah.
people probably did this. So I
Mhm.
should really try to get back here now because I can kill any boss here. And if it was Ridley, they got really punished for it, and now I have Ridley dead. If it's
Yeah.
not Ridley and it's the solution, then yes, I'm behind, but I cut my losses before checking Croc. And then it just ended up being you end up checking Croc anyway because of
Yeah.
what
I
it
felt
was.
if it was like the speed for the other alternative, I'm like, oh, okay, if this is speed for the Meridia open up, it's probably fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was the speed for the other thing. But the first pass through, I think if it was Ridley, I can't do it. If it's Dragon, it's really slow. So that was
Yeah.
why I didn't do it. And I have gravity, so there's like it doesn't like if you have gravity, you can just finish the seed anyway. So it doesn't really
Mhm.
matter. So if I'm trying to play to get first or try and get a really high qual, I'm just not going to do it because it's quicker. But then when I saw the chain with Kraid at the back, I'm like, it's over. It's just
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
so
It's
bad. There was no way to break it. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go hunt it. And then when
yeah.
it was that, yeah,
The
screwed it.
Varia there where it was is when it was first found, it didn't feel super over in terms of the race because it's like we don't know the map yet. Like you can skip
Yeah.
it, right? There's
Mm.
stuff you can do, but when the map turns into required reverse acid dive, it becomes really hard to skip. The seed needs to be incredibly slow for that to be like a reasonable play to make. And it's
If
just kind of
Kraid and
unfortunate that
Terrain
the
was
seed
swapped,
wasn't slow enough.
yeah.
Even if Kraid and Turian were swapped,
That's what. Sorry, if Kraid and Terrain was swapped, I would have been okay. But
yeah, it would have been actually
um,
pretty. Like you could have done it. You would have needed to
yeah,
find a movement item probably because you don't want to hypo jump
yeah,
with
hyper
taking
jump
heat
during that
damage. But
pressure. That's true. Yeah, actually, maybe it's not as good. But
yeah, and I don't
usually
know where the movement items were, but
I
with those
saw
early
high jump
gravity
at right
seeds,
super. I didn't see
oh,
space
that's
jump.
so bad. That's
Mhm.
our. Why are these qualifier seeds so similar? We had high jump and ice in rec ship with
this is
Fantoon and
episode, I
LN.
think.
With Fantoon and LN.
Yeah.
With Croc, same location. These seeds are like as different as possible, but like some of the funny stuff like that is really similar.
Yeah, this is fine. Like, this is just one of those things. I think with early gravity seeds, I tend to play them a bit quick because statistically, it's probably the right
Yeah,
call, but it just didn't
Mhm.
really work out.
I
And also, I'm trying to get a high seed, so that sort of reinforced that. I really thought about the croc at the end though, because I'm like, okay, I can just go clean up waterway and then get like a medium placing, or I can just try and win. And I felt the only way to win was go croc, and that's what I was playing for. So that's why I did that.
This jump
yeah.
was also in wreck ship.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I could totally like respect that, especially because like your worst ones being dropped And like if the solution like is waterway, then it's like, well, there's a very good chance that I could have just be completely blown out in this seed. So like I might as well try to play for the win, and this
Yeah.
is likely to be my drop, right?
Yeah, that's why I tried for that. I mean, there was like one final bailout with grapple at Waterway, but they even then would have been a bit hard to win because people would have had it earlier and probably not done the croc. I don't know, but either way, the idea was to try and win because it's very easy to just do that wreck ship boss. I mean, I knew someone in the race was going to do it. I guess it turned out the top
Yeah,
4
and
did it, I suppose.
that's the big thing too, is like that's kind of what you don't want to see. You don't want to see like one of those like you could defend checking the boss, you could defend not checking the boss, and then it like super rewards the person who like makes either decision, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong on that one. It's just me trying
Yeah,
to play
I
a little bit
completely
too
agree.
quick. And
Yeah.
just
I
that
also
was a big
agree
one.
with early grab seeds playing them a little more quickly, just because like you don't need Varia in most seeds.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not looking for Varia specifically, you're just looking for whatever. So you want to look for like the fast stuff. Which did you? I don't think you ended up checking X-ray, which I'm fine
I
with.
did.
Like I would skip it too in that situation.
That's so messed up, but okay.
No, I got X. I got X.
Oh, you did do X-ray?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I thought
D-boost.
yeah. In general, it's a bit of
Yeah, I did.
also because I
think
don't
it
like
was
messing
last
up the
location.
D-boost. Yeah, but
I
it
had the
was like
bombs because I did green Bryn, so it was okay. That
Yeah.
was pretty handy for me. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like when I have gravity and it's like kind of like the middle of the seed-ish. I don't like doing X-ray because it's a really slow, especially it's like pause to remove items and stuff because it's like and E-Tank's like nice there, but like I feel like the only way I get truly screwed by not doing it is if it's A, Varia, and B, it's a Varia required seed. So it's
I
kind of
think
like
I might have done the X-ray after I knew the map, maybe because that's when I was.
I think that's much better. Not necessarily much better, but that's probably what I would do.
It was
I
kind of
think
like
I
Barrios
think checking
Fort.
it's good too. I just am spooked sometimes of like potential health situations. Like it costs health and maybe you want health later, or I have died there. So sometimes,
Yeah, it's
once
spooky.
bitten, twice
I think
shy.
that I was there when Smellin forfeited, and I was like, oh, I wonder if he died to the X-ray D-boost, but I think it would have been very different points of the race for us. I think my management on the ammo also caused me to not do the wreck ship boss. That's why I wasn't like 100% one way or another, that everyone else could have had way better ammo than me. So that also led me to believe that more people were going to do the wreck ship. So that's, again, why I did croc, because it felt like that was how to win, I suppose. But
yeah, and I think it makes sense. I think in general you want to not play qualifiers that way, but because one of them gets dropped and like the way the seed was playing out, it was very likely this could has the potential to already be your dropped qualifier. I think trying to hit the home run is exactly the way to play it, and that's like kind of heads up to think of it that way while you're playing.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking about that too. I wasn't sure if that's how they work because I thought this one was either just going to be my drop or my win. So I went for
basically,
if you play exactly 3 qualifiers, then
it only works.
It's a drop. Any more than that, and your lowest one still gets dropped. But like you're not incentivized really to play more than 3 qualifiers unless you think you're going to do better than your current average.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I'll just do them because they're fun. But I can't. This is I'm working at the moment, so I can't do many. My next one will probably be the last one. And that's good. That's the 3, so I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Just wanted to quickly call out, Nevdi did finish 5th place overall in the qualifier. Time 1 hour 10 minutes 42 seconds, and the par time for this 1 hour 5:36. I'm definitely not doing the math to tell either of you how many points he got because I don't know. But
I got around. I think I got 103.9.
Nice.
Which I would just like to mention. So we're halfway through the qualifiers. I have an average of over 100. I'm in 4th place. The competition's insane.
Oh yeah.
who? I know you're behind Cutie and Zeb. Who's the other person?
Nitro.
Nitro's the first one.
Powerful.
Yeah. Nitro's crushed some of these. Yeah.
I haven't done it the exact math. Nitro and Cutie have almost the exact same average score now.
Which sucks because I crushed a 108 earlier.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to shift those 3. I think Nitro, Zeb, and Cutie have come kind of ridiculous records. I guess we'll see the next weekend, but
Yeah, I mean,
Nitro is
that
just
top three
ridiculous. I don't.
The big thing is, I think, is of the three of us, my lowest score is the lowest in
Mhm.
that it gives me the
Yeah.
most opportunity to jump.
I think
Because, like,
Eddie has a big jump too as well, and you would, because Eddie's got a first, you've got a huge first, so
Mhm.
yeah, those big firsts are pretty big.
yeah, because
There's
it's like,
also you go, cutie.
yeah, because for Zeb to improve his average, he needs to get like a 103, whereas for me, I just need to get like a 99 to improve my score at all.
Ah,
Because
yeah.
my second qualifier is just a worse one, but I have that one like really nuts 108.
To pass up Zeb, assuming he doesn't do any more qualifiers, I think you need a slightly over 100.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm,
So
okay.
yeah, but regardless, in stuff like this, the difference between 1 and 2 seed is sometimes having the 1 seed might be worse, just with how the bracket could shake out, with how people
Mhm.
do in the qualifiers and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's like,
and that's why I'm just going to do as many as
yeah,
I can
it's
get up for,
kinda,
because it's as long as I'm on that first 16 part, which hopefully will happen, then I'm okay.
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of what I think.
I think top 8 is going to be
Top
a
eight's
huge
pretty.
deal.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Actually,
And
top 8
then
would be the dream.
probably like top 2 is the next big deal, because I kind of think we probably have like roughly 6 or 7 people who are extremely good. Who have like either it could go either way pretty reasonably. That I could see them winning the tournament if things go right.
Yeah. It's going to be
It's
But
gonna
hard
be
to
a
take
fun one.
Zeb in a BO3, so staying away from that
Uh,
side is going to be
Best
good.
of threes, they're gonna be so much fun for these.
It's going to be
Yeah,
a
that was
whole different game. It's going to be so
Oh,
good.
it's gonna be a whole different game, and then when you get like some of the top, oh god, and 1v1 best of threes in this mode, oh, it's gonna be so good. I love this
it's
mode.
it's
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 so good.
incredible.
This
Love,
mode is
there's a
incredible.
question in chat for you,
Oh.
Love. Very personal from Derp. I would
very,
love
very
to hear you
personal.
answer that.
Yes, he is in fact one of those 6 to 7. Derp is.
Yes.
I was
Actually, what I mean, Kip hasn't played it. I kind of feel like there's just like probably
Yeah, we're forgetting the
about
people
8
that haven't
people
played.
who could
yeah,
reasonably
that's what I was
take
gonna
it.
say. Kip was
Yeah,
gonna
we're
play this
forgetting
and then
about.
I
had some
mean,
issues and and drop before the race started. So yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
people who haven't played. Who knows if they will, right? Like I don't have
Yeah, we're
extra
missing
information.
Audra as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Voters only did one. Seffi was in chat talking about how he's trying to finish Persona 5 so he can join. You know,
Eddie's not in the top. Eddie's not in that top list for sure. Eddie's like
Simo
9,
hasn't
10 or
played
something.
one, if I
Right. Yeah,
recall
Eddie's
correctly.
like,
Oh, Simo's so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like-
they're
wait,
so
This is gonna
good.
be-
oh god. All right,
You forgot
top
about
top
All right, no,
32.
Derp, you're out.
Everyone's too good. I'm not qualifying. It's
Everyone's
fine.
too good. Everyone's too good. Eh,
I remember when like there were a handful of people who knew how to play area rando, and then everyone started grinding.
Area is just so good.
It's really good.
It is such a good mode. This mode
Like-
especially because
Mhm.
it adds so many layers and there's so many ways to gain an advantage over a slightly like worse player. Or like, so many different ways to play. It's so great.
Yeah, this mode I think is what Super Metroid has really needed, as Rando was a sideshow to vanilla for so long, and I think Major Minor Area Boss kind of is the future of Rando. It's just so good.
It really is. I can't believe it took me so long to start playing it, but I got addicted to it, so.
Had to do a salty run back there? No. I got a I won't take the kitty because I know you'll say yes.
Oh gosh. Yeah. But
So Nitro cheating again, I hear. Somehow got the first, but is what it is. God routes again.
classic Nitro.
Third.
I think it's just a skill issue, Nevdi.
Who got third? Tony with the sneaky third, then Derp in fourth.
Just go to where the items are.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what you're doing.
I guess those people-
Tony's put up some good times now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tony wants the cookies, so. He's doing
Yeah,
all of them.
apparently. I wanted the cookie until I learned how the qualifier structure works, and I was like, oh, I'll just buy my own cookie
Yeah,
or make them.
right. It's like painful because it's like I want to do as many of them as I can because just racing is so much fun, especially with like people you can talk about the seat afterwards and like discuss. It's so much fun.
Mhm.
So like I want to do them all, but I'm super especially now. I am as disincentivized as possible to do
You
any
can't
more.
do it. You got a secret.
Oh my god,
It
yeah.
goes to everyone in chat. If you're not running these, do them. It's so fun. You'll get addicted.
It really
Just do
is.
it. Join us.
These are great.
Join us. I'm gonna
I
go find out what happened to Smellin and Beefy in a minute and go back to work. But thank you, everyone.
Mhm.
yeah.
It's good fun. It's a shame that I played correctly in the seed. You know how it is. Come on. I got screwed by the seed for sure. It wasn't my fault.
Mhm.
Copium, taking the copium. But
That's
GG
funny,
Love,
Nifty, how you
a
always
pleasure.
play correctly.
I mean,
Always.
I've never played wrong in my life. I'm the protagonist of reality.
True. See, I'm
Stick to
just
race
washed. I'm
shoebox
a Link
as
to the
always.
Past main now.
Oh yeah, you are too. That's right. I'm not meant to
I
be talking to you.
Dang.
was just trying to put up some decent times in this tournament so that I can focus again on the Link to the Past mentor tourney.
How are you doing in that, by the way?
I'm 3-1 right now.
Look at that. See,
So
She's gaming.
I mean,
yeah,
you
I'm
hadn't
trying.
lost. You hadn't lost a Super Metroid race in forever, so you had to pick up a new game just to be able to lose.
Oh, worm. Yeah, I want to just focus on Link to the Past, but like playing these qualifiers and just man, Super Metroid's sick.
It's so sick. I love this mode.
This
So
game's
good.
great.
We should probably wrap it up here, though. Let Nevdi take a dip in his neighbor's pool,
Look,
then go back
Nevdi
to
is an
work.
adult human being with free will. He could have left at any point, but he's having fun.
I have to. Everyone needs to tell me what to do. Kitty tells me to go back to work. That's the only time I work. I need direction in my life.
Fight the power, quiet quit.
Mhm.
You don't need to work.
And for posterity's sake, my item percentage is 37% because I just realized it's covered up.
Oh, very important.
Yeah, if anyone cares.
The new end screen is sick, by the way.
Oh yeah, I
love
love it.
But yeah.
Okay, bye. I'm gonna be an adult. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
See you, Nevdi, and yeah.
We should probably sign off too. So
Yeah, gave the runners as well as our commentary booth a shout out in the chat. If you feel so inclined, follow our runners, the commentary booth as well. As I said, Cutie, who likes to go very deep on things, was very enjoyable by me. Lies and Gasoline, very much a thank you for the tracking. With this new fancy map tracker on the screen, the tracker's job's got a lot harder because you have to click a lot more buttons and read a bunch of small text. So shout outs to everyone, and yeah, Cutie, thanks for hopping in the booth with me. It was a blast, and yeah, good luck in the tournament, and that's all I've got.
thanks for watching, everybody. I'm looking forward to more of these. This mode rules.
So yeah, we'll be back next week, Saturday. I want to say the first qualifier is like 10 a.m. Eastern, but I could be off by an hour on that. Check out the Speedgaming Live Discord for all of that information. And yep, until then, we will see you next mission.